Hello and welcome everyone to another Scratch tutorial in which we're going to take a look at VFX Conform and VFX Dailies. What does that mean? Basically, what we're looking at here is an EDL that we got from editorial, and the EDL specifies a number of shots that need compositing and are supposed to go to the VFX department. And that EDL also features the corresponding VFX shot name, which we have to read out and apply to our clips before they are being transcoded from the raw material into OpenEXR files for the VFX department. Now, what does such an EDL look like, especially in Avid-based workflows? Let me alt-tab into text edit, here we go. This is a very simple EDL, and as you can see, it has a title, and down here we have all in all 4 events that make up our timeline here. So it's these 4 shots of our current episode that need further compositing. As you can see, there's a clip name to it, there is source in and out, there's record in and out here, and then there is a comment in this EDL that lists the original source file name that we're linking to, and there is a locator attached with every clip, and it's a blue locator, as we can see. And that locator or marker, depending on your age, you might call it either locator or marker. The locator contains the VFX shot name, which we are going to read out and use. Now, how can you do that in Scratch? Very simple. Let's enter a new project and import our clips. Here we go. And now that we have all these clips in, the first thing that we should do is, with all those clips still being selected, go to Media Browser, and here in the Base tab, we should select the Real ID column, and now fill that Real ID column or update it with the source name of each clip. You can also select that here in the VFX dropdown. And if we now hit Set, look what happens to the Real ID column. Here we go. Now we basically copied the source clip name here over to the Real ID column. Why do we want to do that? Well, very simple, because we are going to replace the actual clip name with the VFX shot name later on in this video, and hence it would be good to keep a copy of the original source file name in our Real ID column. Okay, now there is also an automated way of doing that. So let's import those clips again, and now make sure to enable the Create New Timeline option here. If we now hit Open, we get presented with this dialog here. I'll stay within the current group. I'll create a new timeline with the name taken from the folder name. No scaling, no nothing, but we want to update the clip Real ID with the source name. So if we now do that, hit OK, here's our new timeline, and if we quickly swipe to the right, bring up the metadata stack, we can see that the source name has been copied to the Real ID column here. Very well. Alright, so now that we have our clips loaded, we need to make our selection. So let's load that EDL that we looked at earlier. Here we go. And here's our EDL with the 4 events that we just looked at in the text editor. And now we can match. Let me first check our frame rate here. And now we can match all the clips in our timeline. Not group, not project, just timeline. That's enough in this case. The match criteria are timecode and clip name. So let's start matching. Here we go. So Scratch found 1 match per entry here in the EDL. That's good. And now we have several options over here. We can, first of all, import everything into a new timeline, meaning that we don't do any changes to our timeline that holds all the source footage. No, we will create a new timeline with just those 4 shots here. Alright, if our EDL would include CDL information, then we could apply that as well. In this case it doesn't. And next we have these 2 buttons here. Import comments and import markers. So what happens if we enable import comments? Hit assemble. We're getting our new timeline, as you can see, scene 34 VFX. And now we have a yellow node on each clip with the corresponding comment. Alt-tabbing back into text edit, looking at our EDL, in a text editor, this line, that's a comment because it starts with an asterisk, for each clip is now being loaded as a yellow note here on each and every clip. Well, that's not particularly helpful, so click the Edit button to get back to our Conform window. Disable comments, enable markers, assemble. And surprise, what do we have here? A blue node on each clip holding the VFX shot name. That's what we want, right? If we alt tab back into text edit, here we go. This is what has been added in the form of a blue node. Add the corresponding time code onto each clip here. Well, quite frankly, the shot name in the form of a node is not that helpful. We can use it, but we need to jump through a couple of hoops in order to use that information in our output file naming. So what else is there? Back to edit, disable import markers, and now we're getting to the really important dropdown, which is called update name. Now, once all the matching and assembling has been done, we can tell Scratch to please update all the shot names with the name inside the EDL, with the real name inside the EDL, or with the markers. So let's choose that. Let me quickly cancel out here. As you can see, we have conformed to the original clips, so all these file names here are the original source file names of the underlying clips. Now, once we have set this dropdown to update name on markers and assemble again, there we go. Now all our shots here are named with their corresponding VFX shot name. And if we check the metadata stack, the original source file name is still kept here in the real ID column, which allows us to, at any point, link back to the original underlying source files, or at least know where this particular VFX shot with this name is coming from. Right, and now in order to render everything out as OpenEXR files, we'll go to the Render tab. Let me delete all this. And here's our main output node, our timeline node, so to speak. I'll just add an image node. Here we go. Configure this to OpenEXR 16-bit float. That's all good. And now I will configure our output file name. Instead of using the output node name, basically, I will add an S in between to use the source name of each clip, which by now is the VFX shot name, which also differs from clip to clip, which means that the output file name will also differ from clip to clip, and hence we will be rendering out separate clips. Not only that, as you can see, it says sname and then there's a slash, which means that Scratch will create a folder with the folder name based on the source name. And inside, let's also add an S in here. And inside it will render the EXR sequence, again with the source name, VFX shot name, at the beginning, and then a 6-digit frame count following, and then ending with the format extension, which is .exr. We can add a whole bunch of other tokens in here if we want. Right now this is enough. I'll just save my mask template as VFX Dailies file mask like that. Add it to the dropdown. So if I create a new timeline, add new footage, etc., I can at all times go into here and just load my VFX Dailies file mask, apply that, and I have it back. Very simple. Okay. And now all that's left to do is hit render node and have our EXR files rendered from the source file, including all the metadata that the source footage ships with. Alright, now you know how to do VFX Conform, how to apply the VFX shot name from an EDL to your source footage, and how to render out VFX plates in the form of OpenEXR sequences from Scratch. Hope this was useful to you, and see you next time. Bye!